It's time for This Week in WordPress, episode number 191, entitled Flying Horses. It was recorded on Monday, the 10th of January 2022. My name's Nathan Wrigley, and as always, I am joined by some notable WordPress guests. This week, I'm joined by Michelle Frechette, Mark Westgard, and Ronald Jigsell, and we're going to talk about the different bits and pieces of news that have happened not only this week, but also during the holiday period. First up, we show you the new block pattern directory and have a little browse around, see how that works. And then a different kind of directory created over at Gutenberg Hub. It's the WordPress Themes Directory, and, well, it's a third-party take on a themes directory, and it looks really, really nice. We then get into, well, there's a course starting this week. It's a webinar. It's all about Jamstack, so we mentioned that. Then move on to talk about the fact that Yoast SEO is moving outside of WordPress, and they're going to be including Shopify stores in the near future. Joe Casabona has his 2022 year in review, and it's a very honest portrayal of his last year. We talk about Jeff Starr's new book all about SQL. It's a bunch of recipes to help you learn SQL. And then we talk about whether or not the no-code way of doing things is the way in the future. Perhaps we're moving towards a yes-code future. Simple CSS is a new framework designed by KevQuirk to keep your CSS frameworks light. The whole thing only comes in at about 4K. PatchStack have got a new way of doing login protection. And there's a couple of deals around. The most notable is WP Funnels over on AppSumo. And then there's a few freebies at the end, some lovely photography over on The Guardian, and some free recordings from days gone by. It's all coming up next on This Week in WordPress. Hello, 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 hello. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. I don't know if there's anything else. Good something.
Good day,
welcome.
Sir. Good
day.
day.
Good day, sir.
Yeah.
Welcome to the first This Week in WordPress of 2022. An absolute pleasure. We took the week off last week, basically because I'm lazy. There's no other excuse. But we're back. And we've got a really nice panel joining us today. First of all, I'm going to introduce my co-host. Traditionally, the co-host kind of resides over there somewhere, but
the co-host had to deal with snow this morning, so she was the last one in the room.
That's fine. Oh, really? Okay. Tell us about the snow. What like, are you talking like inches, feet? How does it work?
Well, we had inches over the weekend, but then it started snowing again this morning. It's currently -8 Celsius, 18 degrees Fahrenheit. So.
Okay. Well, yeah, this is the kind of
I see only green out Ronald's window, unless that's CGI. I'm very jealous.
Well, I'm going to introduce you properly, though, because this is Michelle Frechette, if you didn't know. She is the Director of Community Engagement for Stellar WP at Liquid Web. In addition to her work at Stellar WP, Michelle is the podcast barista at WPCoffeeTalk.com. She's the founder of UnderrepresenTedInTech.com, the creator of WP Career Pages, the president on the board of Big Orange Heart, the Director of Community Relations and contributor at poststatus.com, author, business coach, and frequent organizer and speaker at WordPress events. She lives outside of Rochester, where it's currently snowing, which is in New York, yes. And she's an avid nature photographer. Yeah, I really enjoy looking at your pictures, especially of the birds. You're obviously into that. And you can find out more at her website, which is meetmichelle.online. There's a lot going on there, Michelle, but thank you for taking out time most weeks in your busy schedule and being with us. Appreciate it.
I love this show. It's fun to be here. It's really fun because we can't change anything. It's live, and what happens.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's it. Okay, let's move on. We have with us also got it right. We have Mark Westgard from WS Form. I can't remember, Mark, if you wrote anything in there. I don't think you did give me a biography, so I'm just going to make one up. Mark lives in the USA. He's from the United Kingdom originally, and he is the founder, coder, general, amazing person over at WS Form, which is a form plugin for WordPress. And I might add, it's a form plugin for WordPress that if you haven't checked out, you probably should, because it does a boatload more than you would ever anticipate. So a bit of a plug there, Mark. I hope that's all right.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Anything I missed?
That's it. That's all I am.
That is
it's not -8. It's not -8 where you are, though, is it, Mark?
No.
It's a lot warmer in
No.
Georgia.
It's about 70 degrees centigrade and what's that? About 17 degrees Fahrenheit.
I was going to say you should melt.
yeah. I still mixed between the US and the UK after 15 years. So yeah, about what's that? 21 Celsius. So yeah, not too bad here today.
Oh, stop it! 21 Celsius is a fine summer's day in Britain.
It is. Yeah, we'd be at the beach, wouldn't we?
Yeah, we would be on the beach. But yeah, speaking of Britain, I have somebody also in the UK with me today. So, look at that. It's like two halves. There's the pond. There is the Atlantic Ocean right down there. You've got the USA on one half and the United Kingdom on the other. It's Ronald. How are you doing, Ronald?
I'm good. And I'm even south from where you are, because you're in Yorkshire and I'm sort of in the middle in the Cotswolds. So it just almost works.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yes, it does. Yeah, we should probably swap. Yeah. Anyway, but Ronald just simply wanted me to tell you that he was a marketing and partners consultant.
I did write the whole thing, though. I don't know if you saw it.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I bet you I saved over the top of it. In which case, Ronald, so as not to spoil it, would you introduce yourself correctly? Because I've butchered it.
I can, yeah. So I work with companies and I support Google marketing and various other marketing activities, but also I'm the co-host of the WooCommerce London meetup, as well as a co-host for Do the Woo, and do a lot of podcasts together with Bob and other panelists, which is a whole other thing as well. Yeah, I live in the UK and near the Cotswolds. So, and it's a bit rainy here. Michelle noted earlier that it's green and it's white where she lives. So, I think that's,
it's cold, miserable, but it hasn't yet managed to snow here. We never quite do get over that tripwire. I want it to. If it's going to be this cold and this miserable, it might as well bloom in snow. But it never seems to. Anyway, typically the British have started talking about the weather. This heralds a time to move on. Let's get on to the more important stuff. If you're joining us live and you feel like sharing it, then please do so. I think probably the best way to do that would be this one. Here's a URL for you. Share this URL, wpbuilds.com/live. Put us on a different screen for a moment. Open up Twitter, open up Facebook, whatever you like. wpbuilds.com/live. The more the merrier. It'd be nice to have a whole bunch of you. If you want to comment, Facebook sees fit to sort of hide your avatar and name unless you click a special link if you're watching over on the Facebook side of things. And the special link is chat.restream.io/Facebook. It should be buried in the comment right at the top of this video. And if you go and click that, then we can see who you are. A little workaround is just to write your name at the first couple of sentences that you write. Just say who you are. Otherwise, you'll come across as a Facebook user with a default little profile picture, which is no good to anybody. So do that. But anyway, nice to have you. If anybody has actually joined us live, looks like they have. Thank you, Jeff, for coming along. Very nice. Good morning. Indeed it is. It's the afternoon at this point. Cowbells. Now, I don't get this joke. Maybe this is an inside joke?
It is. Well, it's a Twitter thing now. It's not an inside joke, but last week, I believe it was Friday, I just sometimes tweet stream of consciousness, which is probably to my detriment. And I just wrote, I want a cowbell, that is all. And now there are probably 30 different people who have added them to cart on Amazon. And I'm terrified to go to my mailbox over the course of the next week.
I'm going to guess that you got the Will Ferrell joke posted at you quite a lot. You know, the more.
Oh my goodness, quite a bit too. Yeah, I've never owned a cowbell, and it just looks like fun. And I was told by several different people, you can read it. It's all on Twitter, but that if I would somehow bring them with me to WordCamps, then I would be guaranteed to have more. And as most of you know, I use a mobilized scooter at events like that. I could just do like a check the mail, Jeff says. I could just like after somebody's been married, they put like the tin cans and everything behind their car. I'm just going to like announce my presence by dragging cowbells with me wherever I am.
Well, so here we go. If you want to fill Michelle's life with joy,
no,
go and
we're good.
Hire a cowbell. No, she doesn't want any cowbells.
I'm going to be like donating cowbells to local children's charities.
Oh, well, thank you, Jeff, for making the beginning of the show a little more light.
Sending them to all of your children.
Maya Longcar says, hello. Hi, Maya. How are you doing? Courtney Robertson says, Happy Monday indeed. Peter
Hello,
Ingersoll,
Courtney.
good morning from Connecticut, USA. And Jeff C. he wants a live unboxing of the cowbell. Jeff, keep this coming. This is going to punctuate the show with so much hilarity. It's brilliant. One more time, if you fancy sharing the show just before we get started, go to wpbuilds.com/live. Send people there. That's probably the easiest way to do things. Okay, let's get stuck into the show properly. WP Builds, there's our website. If you fancy subscribing to what we do, go and fill out that blue form thing there, and you'll be subscribed to us. Alternatively, go to our little subscribe page, and over there you'll be able to find all the different channels, the YouTube, the Twitter, and what have you. And there's a couple of forms here to fill out. This one is if you want to be kept updated with our content, and this one here is updating you on any deals that come our way that we hear about. But let's get stuck into the WordPress news properly. Firstly, an apology. We've had a few weeks off. Not only did we have the sort of holiday season, but I also, like I said, took last week off. So if a couple of these news items have crossed your path over the last week, apologies for that, but they're not stale to me, even if they might be stale to you. First thing up, really exciting, like genuinely exciting. That sounded like really sarcastic, but it wasn't supposed to. This is wordpress.org/patterns. Let me say that one more time. wordpress.org/patterns. This is the very beginning of an exciting project to make patterns much, much easier for you to drop into your WordPress block editor-based websites. It's, as you can see, it looks very much like the plugin repo. Essentially, you can filter by category. You've got the option to look at buttons, columns, featured, gallery, and so on and so on. You can look at this at your leisure, but it's so simple to use. I really like it. Dead easy. You simply go to a website, you have a look at it, you decide if it's what you would like to use. You got the option to sort of change the viewport aspect ratio, have a little look, and then if you like the thing that you're looking at, all you do is you click the copy pattern button, just like that. It's now in your clipboard. You head over to the website that you would like it to be in, drop it into a block, and click paste, and that's all there is to it. What more is there to say? I just think this is absolutely fabulous. I'm going to open up the floor to anybody who wants to butt in.
I like the login to collect your favorites, so you can build up your own library of your favorites. Because I can imagine as it grows, it's going to be quite difficult to search with, especially search with keywords, something that relates to design. That must be quite difficult. I mean, a black button is a black button, and you probably get a whole lot of black buttons. But when it comes to columns with a funky, wavy pattern, it's quite difficult to get that. It's relatively small, the library so far, but
I confess I hadn't seen that. Yeah, so how does that work? Do you know how that works? Do I just simply... So I don't think I'm logged in because I'm in an incognito window. Have you experienced that, Ronald? Do you just sort of click like a little heart icon and make that your own?
It's the same as the plugins and themes.
Got it.
I remember...
Right.
I haven't done it for a while, must say, but you can add your favorite plugin, so it's easy to find.
Yeah, I think you made a good point there. At the moment, it's very sparse. So, for example, if we click over on the buttons patterns, there's only 9, columns 23. The ones that are being featured, and I don't know what the criteria for this is, whether it's popularity or just some person at the directory deciding what's what. There's 14 in there, gallery 9, header. You get the point. We're well under sort of the number 50. And I think I'm right in saying, Mark and Michelle, because you were both at State of the Word, I seem to remember that Matt's ambition is to get this up into the like multiple tens of thousands or something.
Yeah, I think it really needs to be more usable. It's a great start, but I can imagine the categorization on this is going to become quite extensive. And I wonder whether they might introduce patterns that are a little bit more generic, more of a layout rather than actually having content in it. I think it's nice to have the content so you can see what it looks like. But yeah, I can see this really growing quite extensively. It's a great idea, and if you have a look at it behind the scenes, when you hit copy, it's just kind of copying the Gutenberg markup, and then when you paste that in, it just makes that part of your Gutenberg content. So it's a really cool concept, the way it works behind the scenes as well.
Unfortunately, because of the nature of the way I've shared on this live stream, I can't actually put any other window apart from Chrome up. So,
Right.
but we take your word for it. If you copy and
Yeah.
paste that into a Word document, you're just looking at the Gutenberg markup as you would see it if you click the code view on Gutenberg.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Michelle, anything on this very exciting moment?
I love the fact that some of the things that we're doing with like our directories, our pattern directories, our photo directories, things like that, are making it more accessible to people who aren't developers, aren't in it to learn code. There are lots of people who are building a website for their own business, and having to learn code is not something that's in their um, their abilities. So let's say they're a house painter and they want to build a quick website. They have access to tools to be able to make a website that looks fantastic without going to a proprietary website builder like Wix or Squarespace or one of those places. So they can do all of that with. Granted, there's some research still involved, but they don't have to like dig into code and do things like that. And so I think this is a great way for making the website or making WordPress more accessible to people who are not developers.
Yeah,
Yep.
my initial thoughts are I think the way of copying and pasting at the moment seems like trivially easy. It's interesting though. In the comments, Courtney, thank you, Courtney Robertson, has said when 5.9 ships in what is that now? Like just over 2 weeks on the 25th. There's an update coming to patterns permitting folks to submit patterns easily. Grabbing a link. So, Courtney, perhaps if you could flesh that out over the next couple of minutes. Do you mean that we'll be able to create our own patterns and then submit them to the directory via a website that we've already got going? Perhaps that is what you mean. Getting back to this page, though, I kind of wonder at the moment, because everything is organized by category, I wonder what it'll look like when it's really busy, but you would like to filter by, well, essentially something done under the same umbrella, so maybe by the same author, or obeying a certain pattern or a same width ratio, or I don't really know, but just the idea. For example, if I like this one and I want lots more which look just like this, but maybe it's floated right and not left, and it's got forms that fit with this feel. I wonder if that's going to be something that's coming down the road.
Do you know if they're going to extend this to themes as well? Because I know that with themes now, you can bundle these patterns in with the theme, which is kind of flow into the next thing you're going to show, Nathan. But I know with the themes now, you can actually have a pattern library within that. So I wonder if they'll expand that out to themes so that you've got a theme with all the multiple parts within it that you can download separately. I'm not sure.
No, I don't know, but curious to think that once upon a time, the plugin directory had these kind of numbers as well. Imagine rewind, God knows, probably like 14 years or something like that. There was the plugin directory and it had like 25 plugins in it. Fast forward to today, however many tens of thousands there are now, it's a huge number. I'm imagining that give this the space of 1 year, this will look remarkably different. And like you say, Mark, searching and filtering is going to become a really important part of it. A few comments that have come in from this. This seems to be a question coming in from Jeff. He's saying, can the pattern directory only go as far as how creative you can be with core blocks? I don't know if that's a question or not, but thank you. Copy and pasting a block pattern is pretty darn snazzy. Yeah, it is, isn't it? I was thinking that myself. Just copy it, go somewhere else, paste it in. Doesn't get much easier than that. And Jeff also says he'd like to search for a resume block pattern, which doesn't exist at the moment. Idea for anybody that wants to make it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Those are the sort of things that I think will be quite useful for filtering in the future. A whole suite of resume ones, I don't know, form ones and so on and so forth. Let's see what time brings. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the WordPress.org take on things, and obviously it's patterns. So in theory, you can drop them wherever you've got a WordPress installed. Just moving along slightly. This I think cropped up before Christmas, but like I said, first time we've done one of these shows. Oh, I should probably go back. This is at themes.gutenberghub.com. Let me say that one more time, themes.gutenberghub.com. And this, my point of contact with this was Munir Kamal. I don't know if he individually, singularly is responsible for this or if it's a team effort. I know that he works with Extendify, but I don't know if it's under that umbrella. But it's his Gutenberg Hub project. And he's now got a theme directory, which I find quite curious. Obviously, we've got the WordPress.org theme directory, but this is ones which work particularly well with Gutenberg Gutenberg. At the moment, it looks like we've got about, 12 per page, and it looks like we've got 3 pages currently, so just over 30, something like that. It's quite a nice process as well. You go Kubrick, look at that. You just sort of pick one by the thumbnail that you like the look of. If you want some more information about it, you click on it. You can then click on a preview, and something just like the customizer pops up where you can see what all of the different elements of this might look like. If you want to see a little bit more, you can take a look at some of the different kind of pages, like how might an About Us page look, and how might a sub page looks. And then if you want to see what all of the, the H1 through H6 and blah, 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 all of that kind of stuff, you can do that as well. And like I say, there's about 30 of these at the moment. When you have decided which one you want, you simply go to the download button and you download a zip file and presumably go to your WordPress install and update it. I just thought this was, like I say, it's a little bit old. This news may have reached you by now already, but I just thought this was well worth mentioning because it's a lovely little project. Anybody else want to jump in?
I installed one of these last night just to have a look at it, and they're great quality little themes, and these are themes that have the Gutenberg patterns built into them. So they have like various header blocks, various footer blocks, patterns. You can just drag and drop into Gutenberg and have a play around with them, but really nicely put together.
Yeah, just really nice sort of community endeavor, right? Mm-hmm. Just lovely. Michelle or Ronald, anything on this?
I'm still too. Sorry, Michelle, go for it.
I was going to say, it reminds me of what a lot of different page builders are doing. So, with Cadence theme and Cadence blocks, we are doing a lot of those kinds of starter themes as well that work really well to get things up and running. And as I'm building things myself, I'm constantly like feeding into Ben Rittner's ear, like, ooh, we should have a starter theme that does this, and ooh, we should have a starter theme that does that. And this is doing that for Gutenberg for the masses.
Yeah, Ronald.
I think it's great to see the initial design, but I think the issues sometimes can come in when you add functionality. If you simply install WooCommerce or some other plugins, how does that play? How does that work? And that's very often where the frustration starts, because if a simple block and you add 1 or 2 plugins, that's fine. It probably works lovely. But adding more functionality on top of functionality, whether it's a marketplace or form builder, and things don't really quite align as you would like it to, that's when you get frustrated and then kick it out, try something else that doesn't work, and you go into this panic mode of trying different themes and patterns and so on. So I don't know what the answer is, but it's nice to play with, and I hope that people will leave feedback and say this works beautifully with shall I give you a plug, WS Form, for example, just to say, well, this works really well together, so that's a good stack, that's a good solution if you want to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah. The one that I tried did have WooCommerce elements to it, which was nice to see. So it did have product layout in there. So they were pretty. I mean, the one I tried, I'm not sure if all of them are like that, but the one I tried, they did seem like they'd done quite a bit of work on it, which was good to see.
It's a bit of a must now, isn't it, to have WooCommerce as of your starter template? Yeah,
everything I see that comes out, everyone's like, okay, but does it work with WooCommerce? And it's kind of an essential nowadays. So it's nice to see that they had done that on some of these.
Look at that beauty. Kubrick. Remember the day. I do remember the day of that. That's kind of cool. Who knows?
Wait 20 years. Come back in fashion.
Who knows where Mani is going with this? I don't know if this is a philanthropic effort or if he's got designs on perhaps making their paid add-ons or something in the future. But for now, a remarkable effort, and definitely worth checking out. Themes.gutenberg.com. And just to your point, Michelle, about the bits and pieces being added to Cadence, Rob. Hello, Rob. Nice to have you with us once more.
Rob.
He's making the point that he's enjoying his experience with Cadence. He says he loves Cadence, Michelle. Yeah.
I just built my first site with Cadence recently, and
How'd it go?
It was great. So I have been using Linktree. Are you familiar with Linktree? I know
No.
you. Okay, so Linktree is something that a lot of people in social media use to point you to all the different things that they do. So, you can go, here's my fundraiser for this, here's my main website, here's my social media links, etc. But the link that I put in my bio here, which is meetmichelle.online, operates very much like that. But I get all the traffic instead of sending my traffic to something like Linktree. So I did that all using Cadence, the Cadence theme.
And painless sort of learning experience. Yep.
I think I executed that site within about 40 minutes total.
Yeah, that's nice.
It is a one-pager, but
Oh, well.
one of the nice things about it too, when you're building your own site, right? So whether you're using Cadence, you're using Gutenberg, whatever you're using, you have the ability to add things that all of these other third parties don't have, right? So if you look at the site that I built, which I'm not saying that you should necessarily do that at the moment, but I've actually added a form to the site. So if somebody wants to be in contact with me, I'm not sending them offsite to yet another website to just do a quick contact. I use WS form and embedded it right on that page.
Getting all the love today, Mark. It's
I know.
Yeah, that's great.
I'll just keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, that's right. Shush. Nothing can go wrong.
How do you think I got paid for that article? I'm like,
no, we haven't shown
I
the
need a
article yet.
developer license.
That's for later. That's a secret. Jeff C. Jeff, what a deluge of comments. Thank you so much. He says he finds it interesting how individuals can create these new theme directories concepts, but to apply their ideas to the official theme directory requires going against a good bit of friction. Yeah, good point. I wonder if Mania actually just thought it was easier to put 36 themes together on his own site than it would have been to try and submit 36 independent themes to the plugin directory. Yeah, that is a good point. One wonders. Okay, let's change direction completely. I just wanted to give a hat tip to a live event which is coming up. I should probably just share my screen again. Here we go. This is the body.works site. If you're interested in Jamstack and all that goodness, then there is a webinar actually starting not long after this particular episode of the podcast finishes, if you're watching this live. So it's, I am completely wrong. It's on
Wednesday.
January the 12th. Yeah, apologies. For some reason in my own head, I had this coming out today. So there's much more time. Don't panic. This is a webinar called A Crash Course in Jamstack with Headless WP, Astro, and Body. So the correct dates and times are actually the 12th of January at 5 p.m. UTC. I'm going to drop the link into the show notes. You probably can't see it if you're watching this live, but if you can, it's just there. Let me see if I can add that as a caption. Here we go. Right, let's put that one on then. There you go. That's the URL that you're going to need. I'll leave that on the screen for a couple of moments. But basically, it's for WordPress developers, Jamstack developers, and product owners. If you want to demystify this, Daniel Olson, and I never know how to. Match it. Yeah. I don't know why I can't get that in my head. I had to phonetically write it down when I was doing the podcast with him. And they're going to be doing that this coming Wednesday. So if that kind of topic interests you, check out the URL on the page. And like I said, I'll put it in the show notes. Right. Okay. Nothing more to add to that. But this was a piece of news that took me by surprise. I did not see this coming. Bit of stale news. Apologies, because this has been out for a little while now. But nevertheless, Yoast is coming to Shopify. Didn't see that coming. Obviously, everybody knows of Yoast. You've probably got Yoast tucked away on one or two websites of your own. The brilliant plugin that helps you manage all of your SEO goodness on your WordPress websites. Well, they've got a bit of a pivot going on. As always is the case with these things, they go to great pains to make the point that their WordPress stuff is not going away. This is a bit of a bolt-on, a new addition. I don't know if they've hired extra people to make this work or if they've just got this as a bit of a side project. But they're coming to Shopify to make your Shopify website or web store a little bit more SEO friendly. And it's called an app. It's not a plugin on the Shopify side of things. My thoughts on this are, why not? But also, if I was a Yoast SEO customer, I would be wanting to know where the sort of the hours of development are going to go in the future, and whether or not they have got a new hire and what have you. Ronald is steeped in sort of WooCommerce side of things, so I don't know if you've got any thoughts on this.
Well, my first thought was because did they not add SEO to Drupal in the past? So it makes sense they pivot to other platforms as well. I think it's a good move because if you have the code, if you have the subheading is SEO for everyone, so why not for outside of WordPress? In terms of plugins pivoting into other commercial hosted platforms, I think from a business owner's perspective, it makes sense because you upcycle a lot of the same code and functionality and instantly generate a new revenue stream. So I think there is a good reason for it. I think WordPress people are very proud of their WordPress ecosystem. So some might take a little offense by it. But then again, if revenue gets poured into open source, then maybe it's a win-win. I'm on the fence on this one, but I think from a business perspective, it makes sense.
Do you know, it's gone off the tip of my tongue. Who bought Yoast about 6 months ago? Who was that?
Newfold.
That was it. It was Newfold, wasn't it? And there was some concern around that. And I wonder if this is a new project. We hopefully will be having Taco from Yoast on the show in the very near future. And so maybe if we squirrel this piece of news away, because it's actually unavailable at the moment. Even if you've been watching this and you've got a Shopify site, there's not a lot you can do with it. It's just news at the moment. It looks like on the 18th of January, as it says on the screen, it's actually going to be coming. I presume they've got some sort of app store on the Shopify side of things, and you're going to be able to install that after the 18th. Be quite interesting to see what the UI looks like and what conception they've got of that compared to the WordPress side of things. But I guess if the pie is bigger and Yoast gets better as a result, one thing that occurred to me was that Yoast, according to the State of the Word address from Matt, which happened, and both Mark and Michelle were present at, I remember at some point during that presentation, he actually put a slide up showing the amount of contributions that had come from from Yoast. Mm-hmm. And aside from Automatic, Yoast are actually in second place in the amount of hours, people, I guess. I don't know what the exact number was, but Yoast came in second place. And so the strength of Yoast as a company is directly related to the WordPress project moving forward. So if their coffers get swelled by this and they decide to, put some of that back into WordPress, all the better.
Remember that at State of the Word, Matt also talked about Gutenberg being something that will expand beyond WordPress as well. So it shouldn't come as a surprise that other businesses are building products that expand beyond WordPress. So we also, I can't think off the top of my head, but there are definitely WordPress plugins that also have SaaS versions. There are themes that and things that components that we use outside of WordPress already. So the growth beyond WordPress of some of the bigger companies should not be a surprise to any of us.
Right. And Shopify, they've got close to 2 million stores. Wow. It's a no-brainer for Yoast to do that. And I know that Shopify, when you apply to become a Shopify app, there are certain categories that you can and cannot join right now. Like we tried on the form front just to see if that was a possibility for WS Form, because we're mainly a big kind of JavaScript front end that we could apply to other platforms, but they weren't accepting form plugin applications at the time. But I think it'll work great with Shopify. Just, I've built a few Shopify sites myself, and I think it'll be relatively easy for people to implement and to manage. So I think it's a good move for Yoast.
It's interesting as well. I think at this point they'll be thinking, "Oh, we're so glad we didn't call ourselves WP Yoast. Yeah. Just no rebrand needed. Just carry on as normal." Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So interesting news. Maybe at some point, like we say, Taco will come on. And with that, Jeff, thank you. He's making the point that apparently they did. You're quite right. Make a plugin back in 2015. Drupal's market share, I think, has been shrinking, sadly, for that project since the last few years. But Taco did apparently mention on the Friday WP Hangouts that they're going to have a Yoast merch store built on Shopify. So there you go. Right. Okay, let's move on. This is Joe Casabona. Joe Casabona. I love this piece. I really like Joe as an individual, as a podcaster. Comes on this show quite a lot and offers lots and lots of value. And he was well, he was a bit of a quid pro quo in a way, because he was very kind about the WP Builds podcast and something that he wrote recently. So I'm most grateful to him. He did a really nice piece. It's called the 2022, the Year of Retreat, and I will not go through all of it, but it's quite an introspective piece where Joe picks apart his own year and berates himself for some of the things that he believes he didn't handle as well as he would have liked. You know, things like he talks about the fact that at the start of the year, he wanted to spend less time on his phone, and he believes that he failed on that journey, and various other things. But then it sort of ends with on a sort of more positive note, where he outlines his, if you like, a bit like New Year's resolutions, the thing that he's going to do in the future. And it essentially it involves this idea of essentialism, just stripping away all of the bits and pieces, the things that he's repeating too much. Like he says that he's been doing a little bit too many pieces of content each and every week. And so he's going to strip that down, concentrate on all the things which are going to benefit him in his business and so on. And so I'm going to spring this on you three. Have you guys got any New Year's resolutions? It doesn't have to be related to tech. Mine, funnily enough, is very similar to Joe's. I am going to try really hard this year to think very carefully, much more carefully than I have done in the past, about what I do, and try to manage my time a little bit better. I'm going to really try during the course of this year to become a bit of a 9-to-5er. Obviously, sort of being self-employed, that leaks in. That bucket is just full of holes, and many's the day that I get to 10 o'clock at night and I'm still saddled to this computer for really no good reason on that, other than that I was ill-disciplined earlier in the week. And so my resolution is basically to go 9-to-5 and try and constrain myself in that way. So can we do a little bit of a round robin? Maybe if we start with, let's go round Mark, then Michelle, then Ronald, if you've got anything to add. Any resolutions for this year?
I think I'm almost in the same boat as yourself and Joe, in that I've realised that last year I was incredibly stressed with work, doing too many things at once and working too late, and in all honesty, neglecting my family more than I should be. So I've got 2 young children who are about to turn 10 and 13, important times for their lives, and I want to spend more time doing things with them, and my wife as well. So I think it's time to, and the way I'm envisaging tackling that is just by removing some stuff from my life that is superfluous and not really necessary, and focusing on the things that I enjoy doing and make me feel good. It's going to take a bit of work to make that transition happen, because I'm juggling quite a bit at the moment with the WS Form and my agency. But it's the direction I'm going in, is to just make life a bit easier and really doing it for my own mental health. So
nice. Thank you. One of the best things about being a freelancer is you don't have a boss. And one of the worst things about being a freelancer is you don't have a boss. Everything just leaks in every direction, doesn't it? Sorry.
Well, Michelle just keep me in check. So.
Nice. Okay.
It's good to have accountability partner.
You concentrate on yourself now, Michelle. Tell us, have you got any thoughts on this?
Okay, well, I have 2 goals and I have a resolution for the year. So my one goal is to publish a calendar for 2023 with a friend of mine, of my photography and her writing for next year. My second goal is to publish a book this year that is a complementary piece to the other book that I've written. More of a journal for entrepreneurs and small business owners to move themselves forward in business. And then the resolution is I have resolved not to buy any URLs that I can't use within 1 week. If I can't use it, if I can't develop it, or at least begin to develop it within a week, as in I purchase it for a specific goal, I'm not allowed to purchase it. I can, however, tell other people how wonderful an idea it is and get them to buy it instead, but I can't purchase it myself.
That's a nice idea. I love the idea of a collaborative calendar, especially. That's kind of nice. I think collaborating is a great way to kind of lock in the fact that you're going to do something. I find I'm far more likely, if I've committed to somebody else, to get to see something over the finish line than I am if I just say it to myself once or twice. Yeah.
And I had somebody say, well, nobody buys calendars anymore. I'm like, well, you're 28 years old. No, you don't. But
I
there are
buy
those of us
calendars.
who do.
I
Yes,
buy calendars. Yeah, I think
I
as
do
soon
as
as
well.
you've got children, I couldn't manage without a calendar. We've got like every
Yeah.
bit of screed on the wall about what they're all up to, and if it was on electronic calendars, we'd drop the ball so much.
Yeah.
What about you,
They
Ronald?
still have a place.
Well, every year we do it with the family. So we all get a little card and we write down what we want to do, like go a place, learn a skill, and then also what we want from each other. So the kids write what they want from me, and so last year was didn't happen last year. So I want to carry on what we've started last year, which was work towards a 4-day week and have a bit more quality time, whether it's with my wife or with the children. So I failed this year to do that, but hopefully now with change of contract, I can work towards that. But the other thing is just more quality time. I've got also kids, 9 and 12, so planning a 2-week sailing trip in the Mediterranean around Easter is a big part of that, just to build these adventures together, because that's what the children want. That's what they remember from the last few years. So, stuff work. Let's focus on these key moments that truly are memorable.
Yeah, can I come?
Yeah, you can actually.
No, Joe answer that question.
Honestly, we had a Black Friday deal on a charter, and it's a massive catamaran with 4 double bedroom, and it's only the 4 of us.
What?
So
they do Black Friday deals on boats.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, that's great.
Quite a bit of money, yeah.
No, I will leave you in peace. You don't need me destroying your holiday. Oh, how lovely, though. Everybody's got something going on. I kind of thought, like, New Year's resolutions and all that was maybe a bit of a dying thing, but apparently not. But thank you, Joe Casabona, for sort of inspiring that idea.
Yeah, great piece, actually. I mean,
yeah,
because you shared the link, and
it's very honest, isn't it?
Yeah, and there are a lot of business owners that come up with these, beginning of the year, a reflection on last year, and I love reading them. I think that the more honest they are, the more admiration I have for them.
Yeah, and what I kind of like is you just get a little bit of a window into somebody's life, and in this case, it may be that they've had a fabulous year, and you get the impression that everything's gone right. But in this case, Joe was very open about the sort of vulnerabilities in his year last year, and I like that when people are able to display their vulnerabilities as well. So bravo to Joe, very cool. Something else that's cool. This came across my calendar. I don't even know where I saw this, but if you're making your WordPress websites, and let's say that you've been in the game for a while, and you know that there's a database, but you don't like to interact with the database or anything like that, then this might be of interest to you. This is Jeff Starr. He's got a company, and I don't know how many publications he's got, but he keeps linking back to Perishable Press. I presume that's him. I'm not 100% sure on that. But he's got this fabulous new ebook, I believe. I think it's a PDF download, I'm guessing. I don't know if there's a paper version. Paper would be hard because of the nature of what it is. But it's called Wizard's Collection. It's called SQL Recipes for WordPress. And it's kind of trying to bridge the gap between no code and hardcore developer. He's trying to give you some simple recipes for things that you might like to achieve by doing SQL. And I think really the point isn't to necessarily make you into a brilliant SQL developer. I think the idea here really is that he just whets your appetite a little bit, shows you that certain things are really possible, gives you repeatable content that you can do, and from everybody that I know who's bought it, I know David Wormsley, who does the podcast with me on a Thursday, he bought it and he really raved about it. There's 300 SQL recipes. It's all syntax highlighted. I'm guessing if it's a PDF, it will be copy pastable. Oh yeah, there you go, copy paste code available. You can get it in an ebook or PDF. 10 chapters, 200 pages, loads of notes and tips. And I just thought this was a really cool idea. We're going to talk a bit more about no code in a moment, but I avoid this sort of stuff nowadays. Pretty much everything that I do these days is through a plugin or a theme. And I feel like this might be a really good purchase for me to get my interest up again.
I just noticed that last bullet point of a lifetime free ebook update. So that's a nice USP in there.
Yeah, lifetime license. It says free updates. Yeah, I guess if it's a PDF, there's not a great burden if you decide. The nice thing about this is not a lot is going to change, is it? Once you've, it'd be very surprised if the book changed massively over the next few years. But yeah, that is really nice. I think $40 is the price, and it says save $10 across the top here. I don't know how long this code's going to last. I've actually only just seen it. You can use the code Wizard2022. So, in fact, that's $30 as it stands at the moment, by the sounds of it. What a great idea!
I love this. I think it's. I have a folder on my computer with SQL, little bits of SQL that I use for WordPress. So I think this is a fantastic. And one of the things I liked in particular, and I'm going to buy this. They have a section on optimizing SQL for WordPress, as far as I'm aware. What's really interesting is I was working with a pretty big client of mine, and we moved their hosting from one hosting provider to another. And we had a consultant working with us on it, and he had a bunch of SQL that he ran on WordPress, which was indexing and other things like that, that really improved the performance of the site. Things that you would hope would perhaps already be in WordPress, but for a larger scale website would be really helpful. And I believe they have an entire chapter on or a section on optimizing WordPress. So that really was interesting to see. But I think this would be a great resource for a lot of developers to have up their sleeves.
Yeah, so I'm just showing the demo at the moment. There's a free to view kind of list of the table of contents. So there's obviously the welcome section. There's an overview of how SQL works. Then there's some recipes for. So chapter 3 goes into WP posts and pages. So it's things like finding any string in a post content, find all the password protected posts, replace any string in the post content. Then it moves on to post meta. WordPress comments, WordPress users, taxonomies, options, and then a whole bunch more recipes at the end. You're right. Look, there you go. Chapter 10, optimizing WordPress. Replace weird characters in the post content, remove unwanted shortcodes from the post content, delete revision posts and related metadata. Yeah, that's actually a really good one. That'll probably free up a lot of space on a lot of websites. Find and delete posts with empty excerpts. I could go on. We're on 209 is the number of pages it looks like, and it looks like each one of those is bound to its own page. So there's 209 at least. I think it said 300 on the post.
And I think right at the beginning of the book, it very importantly says back up your database before you try any of this. One wrong character.
That is a good point. Jeff, awesome Jeff. I'm going to call him Awesome Jeff from now on. He reminded me about Jeff Starr's project back in the day with Chris Coyer. Can you remember this? He had a book called Digging into WordPress back in 2011. I actually am a proud owner of that. And I think, if memory serves, whether or not that book is still under review or revision, I don't know. But it was the same deal. You got a lifetime deal. So if you bought it once, you got it forever. And I've still got it. So yes, thank you, Jeff, for reminding me.
I thought about it, and I'm totally sold now. I'm definitely going to buy it because it is one of those libraries which is just so super useful to have.
Well,
knowing you have it there as a reference. Well,
yep, $30 from a bona fide good source of information. Jeff Starr certainly. He's worth following on. I follow him on Facebook. I don't know if he's on Twitter or anything, but I follow his posts on Facebook. So I imagine that's where this dropped into my life, although it might have been David Wormsley. The website, I'll just give you the URL. It's books.perishablepress.com, and then presumably if you go searching for things, you'll find it. There's a shop books here, but you're looking for the Wizards collection, SQL Recipes for WordPress, and it's kind of looks like it's black and white. Brilliant stuff. Right, in very much the same vein, I'll just hide Jeff's comment. And I'll just put Peter's comment up very quickly. He was saying, we're going back to the conversation now about, decluttering your life, and Joe Casabona's piece. He's saying he's got quite a few registered domains hanging over his head, so he's going to turn off auto renew for those and let them out into the wild. Let them be free.
I did the same.
I did that last fall, and it was very freeing to do it. And then when I see they expire, I have a little twinge of, what could have been? But I let it go anyway.
Yeah. Michelle, are you like me then? Do you have an idea that probably, in my case, probably will never come to fruition, but you have this kernel of an idea, and then you immediately go out and buy the most suitable domain name. Nothing happens, and yet you still hold on for it for like 2 or 3 years in case that seed germinates, and it never does, kind of thing.
Let's just say that WPCatLady.com renewed twice. Renewed twice.
Oh, that's great.
Before I let it go.
Oh no, go and get that one back right away. WP
I can
Cat
see
Lady.
some trading side between WordPress people. They just trade random.
Michelle,
WP.
I'm imagining that URL was to do with actual cats, but instantly I had pictures of like superheroes in my head. Just that's brilliant.
No, I actually, and I'm a single woman, and so I thought the only people that really get me are WordPress people because I spend so much time in WordPress. So I had registered WPCupid.com as well, but I don't know how to build a dating site, so that one also went back into the general public. So if you have any, I will be your first customer if you go out and buy that domain. I promise, but I did sadly let it go.
There you go. And Rob says he's let 20 go this holiday season. Yeah, I must admit, I purged mine probably about a year ago. I don't think I had hundreds. I probably had half a dozen or something, but same thing.
No, but I had hundreds of dollars that I was spending over the course of a year, and that doesn't make any sense.
Yep. Okie doke. Let's move on. So again, sorry, in the theme that we were just talking about a moment ago with Jeff Starr's book, trying to encourage you to upskill a little bit, we have a really interesting piece. I don't think I've ever linked to a LinkedIn piece before. LinkedIn to me is a sort of walled garden where you've got to log in, but seemingly not. They allow you to publish things as well. This is Anil Dash, who is the CEO of Glitch. I confess, I don't know what Glitch is. Maybe it's dead famous and I've just never heard of it. Really interesting piece. I don't know where we all sit on this. I know, Mark, I know your credentials here, and you can take it from one side, and I don't know what Ronald and Michelle have to say about this. But his point is that maybe we've, over the last decade or so, perhaps a little bit less, people building WordPress websites, any websites, he doesn't specifically talk about WordPress, we've been encouraged to go down this no-code route where we are given a UI. The UI is so beautifully well thought out that we really don't need to understand any code to make a really decent attempt at a website. In fact, to the point now where I would really say that no-code websites are every bit as good as websites which are custom coded. Anyway, with that being said, his point is actually, can we just put the brakes on, pump the brakes, and put us in reverse a little bit? Wouldn't it be nice if people who are curious about building websites, so AKA me and panelists here, and if we upskilled a little bit? Now, I don't think he's trying to paint the picture that we all need to go back to university and get a degree in, computer engineering. I think he's basically saying, if you're curious about this stuff, rather than perhaps going and finding a plugin, why not see if it's a simple problem, why not see if you can figure out a way to make it your own, code it, get a little bit of help, figure it out. Perhaps you could even then open source that. And I just found this really curious. And the reason I find it curious is because there's I think a bit of a groundswell of this happening at the moment. There's a lot of people that I know who are at the point now where they've been using these no-code solutions for the longest time, and how to describe it, perhaps the enjoyment of it has disappeared. They started at the same time as I did, where you had to literally write out the HTML, had to learn a bit of PHP. These tools came along, you decided to step off the PHP train or the JavaScript train and make it easy for yourself. But maybe there's a bit of fun to be had in learning it again. And maybe, Mark, I'll just throw it over to you. Do you love this sort of stuff? Do you enjoy coding and getting into the nitty-gritty and all of that? Does it give you a sense of satisfaction?
It's my hobby. I've been doing it since I was 5 years old. I was one of the old Spectrum 48K users, and used to write code there. And I think what I've seen, having run an agency for the last 26 years, we've gone from the days of writing machine code, low-level code, to higher-level languages, JavaScript, to now this whole no-code environment. And it's really just been a natural evolution with trying to make using a computer easier and easier to use for people. And And I've seen that affect my industry. 20 odd years ago, when I was building websites, we had to write everything from scratch. We didn't have WordPress. We didn't have all these content management systems. In fact, I wrote one of the first content management systems, and I wrote it for Sony back in 1999. Because there was nothing out there to enable their staff to be able to maintain the products on their website. So we actually had to write that from ground up. So, but nowadays, for me to build a website for somebody, the likes of Wix, the likes of, I mean, even WordPress has made that easier for people, obviously, to build websites. There's just been a natural evolution for the industry. I think it has had a positive effect in terms of enabling more people to join the space and to be able to build content online and publish content. We use a lot of no code in WS Form just because we want developers to be able to build complex forms very, very quickly and not have to regenerate that code every time, not have to reinvent the wheel. But I still love getting my hands dirty with code. When I build a site for clients, I will use as fewer plugins as I possibly can. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel and write a new form because there are plenty of form plugins out there. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel and build an e-commerce platform because there's an e-commerce plugin that does that. But if there's a piece of functionality that a customer needs, I'll generally try to code that because it will be more efficient. I won't have a huge library there just for a very small piece of code that will be on the page. And I think it is good for people to learn how to code. But I think, reading this article, I'm not really aware of who Glitch are. I had a quick look at their website, and it seems to be like a programming community. So no code is probably affecting their industry because less and less people are doing coding because you've got these no code environments out there. But I don't think in any way no-code software is stopping people from coding. If they want to code, I think there's such a rich library of information out there, tutorials, goodness knows what else online to encourage people to program. There are so many great products for children about how to program. I've tried it with my children, have a go at coding. So I don't think no code is preventing people from doing that. If anything, I think it's just increasing productivity and making using the web a lot easier. It's just been the next natural evolution in online and programming in general.
It's nice that you are able to open the bonnet and see what the code is like. And if you're curious and you want to dive a little bit deeper, that you can play with it and add something or take something away. And that then evolves into doing a lot more. And then, like Mark is saying, maybe replacing a plugin with a bit of code. And I think that's a really good way to introduce people to code, because it doesn't stop you from creating the website or the business website that you want to create. But it does allow you to customize things if you really want to, if you are eager to do that.
I think that's one of the plus sides to WordPress is it's open source. All the plugins are open source. You can go into any plugin and have a look at how it's been built. Some of the other platforms, like the Wixes and the Shopify, you can't really see that code behind the scenes. But with WordPress, if you are curious, you can go in there, have a look and see how they've done it and learn, what's under the hood, as Ronald says. So,
Anything to that, Michelle?
I mean, I only learn code, number one, that I need to, or number two, that I have interest in, because I'm not that's what I wrote. I wrote a whole article about why I decided to develop my little plugin that's in the repo, because I just wanted to understand better about what happens with coding and with development and what it takes to put something into the repository and all of that. In a presentation last month at WordCamp Taiwan about that whole adventure of mine, only to discover that I probably will just stick with the little CSS tricks that I need and continue to use a lot of no code, because that's my level of wanting to be involved and needing to be involved. And then when I need other things, I just have so many people at my disposal to get help from or to hire.
Yeah.
And, so it's just, I think it's a great idea. I also think it just depends. Obviously, I'm not his audience necessarily, and people like the painter I talked about before, the house painter is not his audience. It really depends on who you are and where you sit as to whether this makes a lot of sense for you.
It's really interesting. In the UK, we call the first set of schools that you go through primary schools. And the primary schools, when I went to school, there was this BBC computer. Every school had this BBC computer, and it basically sat in a cupboard because all the teachers were afraid of it. Because it was very expensive and it was likely to go wrong, and nobody was trained, and so it never got used. However, if you were lucky enough to be at a school where there was a teacher who did get it out of the cupboard and use it, it would appear that it launched a lot of careers. It was a very groundbreaking machine that was widely available, and it just sparked that sense of curiosity in children. Fast forward sort of 15 years where Microsoft had come along, the whole primary curriculum had changed to the point where they were now being taught never, ever, ever how to code anything. They were being taught how to consume Microsoft products largely. It was how to use a spreadsheet, how to use Word, just introducing them into the menu options, really, and how you might put a tiny little bit of a macro into a cell on a spreadsheet or something. And then about 8 or 9 years ago, this little Raspberry Pi computer came along, which seems to have sparked the interest again. And now it's flipped right back to where children of a very early age are being taught how to code, with simple little tasks to begin with, often driven with kind of like fun cartoon-like apps on mobile platforms, but it gets increasingly more difficult. I would imagine there is a groundswell of kids who are about the age of coming out of school fairly soon who are going to blow us away with what's possible. They're just at that point where they're 16, 17, heading to university. They've been taught how to do this stuff, and I think we're on the cusp of something really cool.
Yeah, a lot of those educational programming products that I've seen are still quite high level, though. They're kind of drag and drop conditional. So the ones that I've seen with my children anyway don't have a lot of kind of hands-on coding on them. There's a lot of drag this from here to here and do conditional logic using a user interface, and it's still doing the coding for them behind the scenes. But I agree with you. The Raspberry Pi thing has been really, really popular. It's basically a little Linux computer that you can do pretty much anything with. And I think all these products are great for teaching kids. We need programmers for the future, that's for sure. To keep the no code alive.
Yeah, well, that's the interesting point, right? If you're using WordPress and it does what you need, I wonder if there's a whole bunch of people for whom it just works, and they don't need to know the code,
No.
but given the opportunity to learn the code, they would welcome it and they would enjoy it and they would thrive on it. But because it all just works and it ties together and nothing breaks, well, most of the time, they don't even realize that there's fun to be had in there. So anyway, really curious idea. It was Anil Dash over at LinkedIn. I will obviously post the link in the show notes. Ronald has just nipped out for a couple of minutes. He says he'll be back in a moment, but I'll just put Rob Cairns' interesting comment up. Rob's saying he's actually got a programming background and he now prefers the no code. He thinks it's a good idea for everyone to learn coding so you understand how computers work. Yeah, and that is the endeavor in the UK, at least anyway. I think the government have decided that coding as an industry is a very valuable one, and it was one that was being basically missed out upon. So in the UK, at least anyway, that's become a bit of a priority. Right. And Ronald's back. Hello, Ronald. Welcome back. We're just going to press on, actually, because we're sort of running short of time. We've got about another 20 minutes or so left. Guy called Kev Quirk, who is in the UK. I just thought I'd raise this. This is really interesting. Go to simplecss.org. Kev is a cybersecurity expert. I hope I've got that right, Kevin, if you're watching. And but he fiddles with all sorts of web technologies in his spare time, and he's obviously got a bit of a bee in his bonnet about the bloat, as he describes it, of big CSS libraries. So he's decided to rein one in himself. And this is just really for those people out there who like lean, simple websites. He's got simplecss.org. The whole thing comes in at a whopping 4 kilobytes. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not going to do all the things, as he says, that Bootstrap does, but it does basically everything you'd want to do if you've got a simple, largely simple text-based websites with, I don't know, you might want a block quote, or you might want some headings and some paragraphs and various other basic things. But really, this is me just hat tip to Kev. Thank you for doing this. I just think this is really cool. It could easily be used in your WordPress website, and it literally comes in at 4K. Nicely done. Anybody? Mark?
Yeah, I like this. It's we were talking about people learning how to code. This is actually a nice little simple CSS library.
I didn't segue that very well, did I? I should have. Yeah.
As an afterthought, it is actually quite a nice transition, because what this is a classless framework. So there are no classes you have to use in your code in order to style anything. He's basically styling all of the core HTML elements, such as a header, footer, UL, block quotes, figures, and things like that. Just a nice little library to get you started, really. And obviously, CSS being cascading styles, you can cascade your own styles on top of this to make it look how you want. So
it's really nice. Really nice.
Just nice and clean.
Yeah. And anybody that writes spoiler alert in an accordion that opens up to say "you smell" gets my vote.
All you had to do is look a little further down. You could see what it was, but yes.
That's right. Yeah, it was.
You're going to click it first, of course.
That's right. Just a really nice little project. So hat tip to Kev. He's made some comments in the past. We infrequently communicate on Mastodon, and it's really nice. Really like it. Okay, just moving on. I just found this quite curious. This is PatchStack WordPress. Well, largely WordPress. It's a firewall. It's a plugin for WordPress. They're security related. They got this new idea in their most recent version of the plugin. It's security through obscurity, which isn't always the best way of doing things. In other words, hiding your WP login page is not going to keep people out if they really know what they're doing. But they've got this interesting notion. They've come up with an idea of security through obscurity, and it works like this. You go to a predetermined URL, which is now your unique login page. If you visit that URL, presumably it's some garbage, just pseudo-random noise, then your IP address will be whitelisted for 10 minutes as able to log in. So in other words, if you never disclose that quirky URL, hopefully nobody will ever get hold of it. Hopefully it'll never be discovered. And it just adds a tiny little bit. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah. I always recommend to our clients that we just completely IP block the login for WordPress. But for a lot of people, that can be a little bit technical to do. We usually do that on a front end with something like Cloudflare or a firewall. But this is a nice alternative solution to that gives you that temporary login URL. I'm curious to know how you get that URL. I hope the URL isn't emailed. But
yeah, I'm wondering if it's part of the plugin in the back end. I'm imagining there's a string which is revealed to you somewhere.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't really know. If Oliver Sild is listening, or does in fact listen, let us know. But all it says is access to the WP login.php is completely blocked, not hidden. The only way to access the login page is to access a secret link, after which the IP address is whitelisted. You will then be allowed to access the login page to log in. So you've got 10 minutes basically to get it right. And if you lose that unique URL, maybe you're toast. Presumably you can go and uninstall PatchStack with SFTP or something like that. But anyway, there you go. Just hat tip to them for something a bit different.
Yeah.
An offer, a deal. I've never used this. This feels like Ronald's territory again. I don't really know. It's a thing called WP Funnels. It's on AppSumo. Caveat emptor. You know how these things can come and how they can go. It's a funnel builder which goes, I think, sits on top of WooCommerce, and It's $59 for life, so I just thought I'd mention it. Ronald, anything here? I think you're muted. You're muted. You're muted. It's the word. It's the phrase of 2021. He's not muted. He's actually thrown his mic away. You're going to have to use semaphore or smoke signals, or if you've got a Davy lamp, would happily do the Morse code. Shall I come back to you, Ronald, when you figured it out?
I've switched.
Oh,
off
you got
these pods. So
You're back. You're back.
he's back in the room. He's back in the room.
WP funnels. I think it's a good way to get started, but it's to get some inspiration on how to build out a funnel. But I'm not quite sure if I like the terminology that they use, like sales bump and so on. I think sometimes it's off-putting and a bit too commercial in terms of, working with customers. If you use these sort of terminology, they go, "Oh no, our customers wouldn't like that." But actually, if you explain what it actually means, then they do see the value in that. So it's it's sort of a double-sided thing. But for business owners, it's probably a useful tool to get started.
Well, $59 for a lifetime deal. It certainly felt like it was worth mentioning. So I will do that and then swiftly move on.
But I'm not going to go for this. I'm going to go for the SQL hack. So.
Okay, if you've got $60 burning a hole in your pocket, you're going to buy 2 copies of the sequel, and not this. Yeah. Buy one and give it away, and buy one for yourself. Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Do you know that'd be really an interesting segment in each of these shows if we gave everybody a virtual $100? What would they buy this week?
Yeah,
do it.
There you go, Ronald. You've
virtual, you said.
Yeah, only virtual. Yeah, damn it. This week, by the way, I bought these things. I didn't. Shall I just show you these? These are kind of fun. They're called nano leafs. Check this out. Look, they're hexagons made of like this laminate wood effect. Actually, let me just put that. You can't see anything, can you? Look at that.
Let me see it.
And they just sort of ripple lights around. Look. That's what I
spent.
Can you connect them
to your mood?
So like this is in any way on topic, but here we go. This is called warmish white. That's not warm in any way, is it? That's like runaway white. This is ambient white. The problem is I've got the light on too bright, so I can just turn it down.
It's called Alien Encounter.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's right. And then this is kind of cool.
The first one was where were you on the night of the 22nd?
That's right. Yeah. The interrogation. That one's called. But this is fun. Look, you can make it so it listens to your voice. So let me just turn that down a little bit. If I speak, they will change as I speak. That's about the most unexciting thing you've ever seen on the podcast. Anyway, that's what I spent my money on this week. It's called Nano Leaf, and they're quite fun.
There you go.
Yeah. Now we'll get onto the real meat and bones. We're on to user-created stuff this week because I didn't put these next few pieces in. This has come from the guys, either Mark or Michelle in this case. So first one up is this one. This is A11Y-101.com. So A11Y-101.com. And this is Mark, I think. What's this all about?
Yeah, so I like making stuff accessible for 2 reasons. Making it accessible to people that may have trouble accessing stuff on a web page, but making stuff accessible is also just great for usability as well. And there are a lot of websites out there that describe what you should do and how you should make page elements accessible to people. But this site actually shows you how to do that. And I stumbled across this when I was looking at the main A11Y website. And I was looking into how to make SVG icons accessible to people. And this has some great code examples in it that talk you through how best to do that. So if you click on development on the left-hand side, and then maybe click into some of those other sections. There's quite a lot on here, but
checkboxes. Here we go. There's a checkbox.
So there you go. So it shows you how to what attributes to put in and what accompanying codes you need to make different elements on a page accessible. So it's just a nice resource for people if you're looking for code examples of how to make your site accessible. This is a great resource. And then there is actually a main A11Y website as well. I forget what the web address is, but if you Google A11Y, it'll come up. Great resources for web developers.
This is cool. It not only makes it really easy to find what you want, but I don't know if it's in every case, but the 2 or 3 that I've done so far, they give you I don't know what this little video is going to show me, but presumably it'll tell me reasons why it needs to be done this way and how it's to be done. It's so easy to consume. Yeah, nice. So that's A11Y.com. No, A11Y-101.com. I'll link it in the show notes. Yeah, that's very, very cool. And then we got one which is totally related to this, but this one came from Michelle. I don't know if it was a coincidence or if you two were in cahoots, but this is Bet Hannon. Tell us about this, Michelle. It's called Resolve to Have an Accessible Website in 2022.
Yeah, so Bet is amazing with accessibility. Her team actually volunteered. They gifted underrepresented in tech.com an accessibility audit, which we were able to implement almost everything on the list to make sure that your website is as accessible as possible. And so she's put together a great article here on ways that you can resolve to have a better, more accessible website. There's all kinds of statistics, and it depends on who you read and where you read, but up to 25% of the web needs some sort of, or users need some sort of accessibility. For me, for example, I make everything bigger because my eyesight isn't as good as it used to be, in large part due to the internet and being online so much. So it has to solve its own problem, right? But even things like nursing mothers who are trying to do things and holding a baby with one hand still have to deal with some accessibility issues, right? So it isn't always about people with physical disabilities and long-term disabilities, but just the fact that there's so much that we can do for every site to be better for every user.
That's really cool. She's actually Bet, I don't know, forgive me, I don't know Bet, but there's a link here also to join the WordPress Accessibility Meetup. I don't know where that's going to take us to. Let's have a little look. Where's that going to end up? That is going to end up at meetup.com. Yeah, /WordPress accessibility meetup group, as you might expect. Yeah, cool. Wow, 433 members. Next meeting is next Tuesday on the 18th of January. So maybe I'll put that in the show notes as well. That's kind of cool. Yeah. Two coincidentally accessible related things. And the next one, as if this wasn't ordained to happen. So this is a website called WS Form. I think Mark might know something about this, but this piece is written by somebody called Michelle Frechette. And I think Michelle Frechette might know something about this. What's going on here? How have you two got into cahoots and writing for one another? That's nice.
You can start, Michelle.
Okay.
You wrote it.
I did. Well, Mark, WS Form is one of the sponsors for WP Coffee Talk, and I always want my sponsors to do well in the world. So I reached out to him in the fall. I'm like, hey, do you need any help with anything? Can I help you a little bit around Black Friday? And so he created a not Hootsuite, was a Buffer account, and just kind of like gave me carte blanche. So I kind of went in and started tweeting and posting for him, and then I was like, hey, we should do some more with your blog. What if I wrote this article? I really want to write this anyway. And he's like, yeah, send it on over. And so so that's how that all came about. A lot of it
kind of has a bit of a call back to what we were talking about earlier. We were talking about our own personal New Year's resolutions, if you like, and this is website resolutions for 2022, where you go through the 8 things. Maybe there's more, but you've sort of settled on 8 things at the beginning that you think your website should have. And accessibility, God, it's all like meant to happen this week, isn't it? Look, number 6 of which is accessibility, and you've got a whole boatload more links down there, one of which I've just put on the screen because Mark mentioned it. Privacy policy, contact form, ratings, testimonials, about us, social links, favicon, and of course the meat and potatoes of WordPress, a blog.
The website, the article started out as 6 things you should have, and then we kept talking about, we should add this and we should add that, and suddenly it was 8 things.
9 things. You need a live stream. There you go. Number 9.
There you go.
On the screen from Amy Letson, she's just chiming into what we were talking about Bet. saying, if you haven't caught a presentation on accessibility by Bet, keep an eye out. She's so good. I feel I'm going to have
She
to
really is.
put some of these links in the show notes as well at the end. But yeah, that's a lovely bit of coincidence. That's really nice having you both on the show today. And here we go. The last WordPressy related thing. Again, Michelle, you're up for this one. The I don't even know what a Twitter conference is, but Post Status, organized by you, I think, Michelle, are having a Twitter conference later in the year. What even is that? What even is a Twitter conference?
Sure, I'd never heard of it until about 2 years ago when Phil Barker and Pat Lockley, through Pagogi and Hey Presto, created a Twitter conference a few years back. And what it is it's a really great way for people who might be stage shy. They don't want to be on camera and do those kinds of things, to be able to kind of share knowledge using a hashtag that identifies the conference throughout the day. And so what we're doing is on May 24th from 9 to 5, we will be having 2 presentations every hour. So the first half hour, the first 15 minutes of each half hour will be 1 tweet a minute from the presenter, and then the second 15 minutes of every half hour will be Q&A and discussion about that topic. So the idea is that anybody can go to this Post Status Twitter conference on Post Status and apply to present. I keep saying speak because I'm so in but you're not actually speaking. I mean, you could, right? So you could record 15 one-minute presentations if you'd like, and present your information that way. You can present simple tweets. You can present slide decks, however you want to do it. But the idea this year at Post Status, our theme is Give, Grow, Together. And so special, consideration will be given to anybody who can work that into how they are, what their presentation is. And you can, if it's a very sensitive subject, I will even allow you to present anonymously from from a Twitter account that you can spin up for this. But I still at least need to know who you are so that I can vet and make sure that I'm putting together the best case scenario for the entire day. And so, I actually spoke with Pat and Phil, got their blessing. They have decided, I see I spelled organizers wrong. I'll be going in and editing that. But
never mind.
But But I spoke with them. They had said they wanted to give me a heads up. They weren't going to do it any longer. And I said, do you mind if I take up the mantle and run with it? Not doing exactly as they had, but running with that same concept. And I had their full blessing. And so I even pilfered from their website with attribution, of course, so that I didn't have to rewrite and invent the wheel. But I'm super excited about this, and some of the presentation applications have started to come in to through the website, and I'm super excited. If anybody has any questions, they can hit me up on Slack. They can hit me up on Twitter. I'm happy to answer any questions, even vetting some topics if people want to talk through some of those ideas.
Nice. Thank you. So all happening on Tuesday, the 24th of May, from 9 o'clock. And if you go to the URL, it is poststatus.com/poststatus Twitter conference, each word separated by a hyphen. Then you will be able to sign up because there's a form on that page and you can use that to get yourself signed up. Yeah, thank you, Michelle.
It's not a WS form. I'm sorry, Mark. It's
I was just going to do the site. Yeah, I know.
By the end of this week, the WPCareerSummit.com will be live, and that will be using WS Form. So if you want to see a WS Form in action with lots of different bells and whistles included, you can go to that site. Hopefully by the end of this week, I will absolutely post that to Twitter when it comes live.
Very nice. Right, a couple of things, nothing to do with WordPress. If you like music, free music, I came across this. It's called archive.org. I'm sure you heard of that. archive.org/details/George Blood. Apparently, 312,574 78 RPM records have been digitized by George Blood. I'm guessing George Blood, I mean, is that an individual? If so, how has he got the time to digitize 312,000. I mean, literally, that's like 7 years of your life or something. But if you're into free
That's
music,
quick, Matt.
it's a long time, right? Maybe he put them onto like 3,000 RPMs and then digitally slowed it down. Who knows? But it's completely free. Came across my radar this week. I just thought,
even cylinder recordings, like the original cylinders. It says that.
Check it out.
George Blood is a company.
That's what I thought, because it says George Blood LP. But I wondered if that was for long player, like the original LPs. I didn't know. Anyway, free music. Who doesn't like that?
Yeah.
I mean, look at it. There's a laundry list of good stuff here. There's Billie
look at
Holiday.
that first one. Who doesn't want to hear Fido is a hot dog now? I have to go in and listen to that one later.
I want to hear Fido is a hot dog now. You've got Billie Holiday, Glenn Miller, Louis Armstrong, a whole bunch of stuff.
Wow.
I think I saw Bing Crosby and some various. Anyway, tons of stuff on there, totally free. We love this kind of stuff. And last but by no means least, I thought I'd do this one. I didn't know Mark was a photographer until about an hour and a half ago, but this is for him as well. But I put it in here for Michelle because I know she's into photography. This is just some beautiful photographs that The Guardian, the newspaper in the UK, have put together. Apologies to those of you who are listening, but the photographs are brilliant. You really should watch the live show, and you might get a chance to see them. But just like 15, look at that. I mean, what are the chances of you catching that picture? It's a picture of what looks like a lifeboat under the moon, and it's almost like Steven Spielberg set this scene up to illuminate the lifeboat. There's nothing else going on. There's pictures of La Palma in the Canary Islands that got deluged by ash during this past year. There's some fairly harrowing ones of COVID, but there's also Tom Daley, the Olympic gold medalist diver, who does knitting prior to diving, and there he is doing his pre-dive knit, which is quite fun. The storming of the Capitol in the US. This beautiful picture of somebody out on a raft with a couple of whale sharks literally inches below their feet, and then a bunch of nutters standing around a volcano as it's about to consume them. Just a beautiful picture. Sad one of a mountain gorilla there, and then some political ones as well. But just absolutely fabulous, these images. Really nice. So I just thought I'd mention that.
Where's the horse? Is that,
yeah, of course. Yeah, of course, Mark.
The horse on the merry-go-round.
Oh, I can't believe it. I feel like such a fraud. Where's the horse? Here it is. Mark's favourite. It's coming. I promise you. It's coming. There it is. How did this picture ever happen? For those of you who are listening, it is a picture of a horse basically suspended at about 20-25 degrees, almost as if it's being swung on a merry-go-round ride. But there's nothing to give it context. There's just a completely blank sky with a horse.
Someone decided just to lift horses that day.
I wonder if the horse can somebody turn me around? I want to go the other way.
Yeah, it's like what Iron Man does in his spare time. Just go horse swinging.
I don't know the photographer. I can't pronounce his name, but I love the fact you could tell he's not from the US because his understatement is wonderful. I suspected it might make for a nice picture.
Yeah, it is absolutely beautiful, isn't it? A horse being swung around in midair. That's it. On that bombshell, we're going to end it this week. I'm absolutely delighted to have had you guys on this week. So we've got Mark from WS Forms, Michelle from literally everywhere, and Ronald, who is, I don't know, where's the best place to reach you? Let's go one at a time. Let's start with Ronald.
You can Google, Slack, Twitter, but yeah, I think I'm doing a lot of Do the Woo stuff now, so that's probably a good way to connect.
Brilliant.
For the time being.
Yeah, Do the Woo podcast with the legendary silky voiced Bob Dunn. Go and check that podcast out, and you'll hear Ronald on there. Michelle, best place to reach you?
Meetmichelle.online will give you links to everywhere that I am.
Thank you very much. And lastly, Mark.
WSform.com, on Twitter, WS_form, and my personal Twitter is @Westgard.
Thank you very much. Right, we've got to do this slightly humiliating wave thing that we do at the end of each week. So if we can all manage to... There, we got everybody waving. We're all waving. It's very good. Thank you very much. We'll be back next week. Hopefully I'll have you guys on at some point in the near future. That would be really nice. Yeah. But for now, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.